In this video, we will cover how to create the double cylinder, create a multi-view drawing with dimensions. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to set up our layers. And this is the drawing that we're going to create here. I have an isometric view of it, and we're going to be creating a multi-view drawing. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to go to our layers here and our layer properties. And this will bring up a new menu. We're going to go ahead and create a new layer. And this new layer we're going to call visible. And visible means that we'll be able to see the lines, and we'll talk more about the different line types as we move forward. We're going to leave it as a white color. It's actually black because we're using a white screen. If we were using a black screen, it would be white. Continuous, and we're not going to worry about any line weights for today. The next new layer I'm going to create is hidden. And our hidden lines, we're going to change the color from white to an orange. And we're going to change the line type from continuous. Notice there's only one option here. We have to load new options. Scroll down until we find hidden. So there's our hidden lines. Select our hidden line and okay. And notice it goes from continuous to hidden. We're going to create a center line. Oops, leave the center. And we're going to make our center line, make it blue. And we're going to change from a hidden line, we're going to go to load. And bind center. And select OK. Next, we're going to create a dimension line. So we'll create a new layer. We're going to call it dim for dimensions. And we're going to change it from blue. And let's go ahead and do a darker green here. And it'll just be a continuous line, continuous solid line. And then one more we're going to call construction. And the construction lines are going to help us create the multi-view components. So we're going to go ahead and come in here and we're going to make this a light gray. And it will also be continuous. I'm going to go ahead and close my menu. When I do, I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out just a little bit. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to stretch it out. So when I stretch it out, see how my layer options are here. I have a drop-down menu, and you can see all the line types that we just created. Let's go ahead and bring up my drawing here. So the first thing I want to think about is how to create my different views. So we're going to create a front view, which is looking from this side, a right side view, and a top view looking from this side here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is use the front view. So the front view is going to show the most detailed information about the shape of the part. And when I look at my front view, I'm looking at this line, this horizontal line, our vertical, horizontal, vertical. That is the shape that I'm going to draw for my front view. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change from my object line, my original line here, to my visible line. And my visible should be black. So it looks like somehow I switched those. So let's do our visible. We're just going to select that orange. Should be there. And let's take our hidden. Get those back orange. I'm not sure how that happened. I must have hit the wrong one. All right, so let's go ahead and take our line command. I'm going to start here in the middle of my screen, and I'm going to draw just like I normally would if I was given this view as my original view, or my original part. So I'm going to drag my cursor straight out, and I'm going to type in my 6.00. Okay, not sure why my visible line is hidden also. So let's go back into our layers and see what happened. Looks like my visible line and my hidden line took each other's properties. So let's go back and let's make this one orange. And I'm going to call this and just rename those. I'm not sure how that happened. There we go. So let's go ahead and erase this and let's start again. So change from my hidden line to my visible line. And again, I'm on my screen. I'm going to drag my cursor out, type in my 6. And then I'm going to type in the height here, which let me come over here and figure out what it is, 0.75. So drag straight up. And come back over here. Our width of these lines is 1.25. So we'll come over here, right the cursor. And like I said, you'll see that this is no different than what you've created in the past. This would be as if this part right here would be as if this was the part that you were given in your textbook. All right, so our next height here would be 1.38 minus 0.75, which is 0.63. Our overall top part there is 3.5. And we can type it in again, or I could just come over here and touch that edge and drag it straight over. And same thing, I could touch the end point, drag it straight up, so I don't have to do extra typing. So that's my front view as I know it right now. So I'm going to use my front view to help me draw my top view and my side view. So I'm going to go ahead and change to my construction line. Now you can use just a regular line for your construction lines, or you can come down here and actually use a construction line. The difference between the two is a construction line. If I select this corner, notice that I get a continuous line that goes forever. If I was going to use just a regular line for my corners to show where my top view is, I would be clicking the end point. Okay. Again, you can do either. It's what's your preference. I find a lot of times having the extra construction lines that go forever. Sometimes for me, I just feel like it's so cluttered. So I just use regular lines instead of the construction lines, but you can use what you prefer. So from each corner, I'm going to drag a line straight up. So every corner in one view has to be represented in your other views. So yes, we do have two corners here, but they're right on top of each other when we drag a vertical line up. So what that tells me is when I'm looking at this part and I'm drawing the front view, there's not going to be any drawing over here or any drawing over here. When I look at my part, this corner right here that I created, this line right here, is the edge of my top view. Same thing over here. This corner right here is the edge of my top view. So what I'm going to do is just come in here, and I know that that's this line here, and that's this line here, because that's the corners that I just pointed to. And I know when I'm looking at my part, I see this line here, I see this line here, and I see this line over here. I don't see depth because we're creating a 2D image. So I'm going to come back to my visible line, and I'm just going to select on my part here and just drag straight over to my other line. And then I'm going to see what the measurement is, that 3 inch. That's how wide the width of my project is. And again, I'm going to bring this straight over and line it up with my other side and bring my line straight down. Now, as I look at my part, I have these lines here, right? So what are they representing? So when I come back over here, here's that corner right here. And that line is this line right here that goes all the way from one side of my part to the other side of my part. So both of these lines that we have here, and I'll choose my line command, And right at the intersection, just drag straight up. And there's that solid line that I would see from the top view. Let's do it one more time. All right. Now everything I have in my top view is also shown in that front view. But when I look at my part here, I actually have holes. Well, I don't see them from the front view, but I do see them from the top view. So we're going to go ahead and get these two holes in. It looks to me like I might be missing some measurements, so the placement of these two holes. So we might just have to make them up for this case. So I'm going to go to my circle and my diameter. And it looks to me like we have some information here that might be new, this information right here. So what's saying is there's 2 times, so there's 2 of the holes, both of these are the same. That there's a measurement 0.25, so diameter hole 0.25, that goes through the part, and then a countersunk, or right here, see how that's countersunk, it's counterbore, it goes down only a distance, and that diameter, so this diameter right here, is 0.5 and only goes a distance of 0.25. So the distance down we're going to need for this drawing, but for the top view, all we're looking at is the holes. So we'll go ahead and choose our circle command. And we're going to do our snap from. We're going to snap from this bottom corner. I'm going to do my @ symbol, and I'm going to say, let's say it's over an inch and up an inch. So we're going to put 1.00, comma 1.00. Because, oh, that doesn't look like that's close at all. So let's actually do 0.75 and see if that works better. And that's the hard part with not having that measurement in there, having to do a little guesswork. 0.75, comma 0.75. And that looks a little bit closer. And we said our diameter is 0.5. And then our smaller hole that goes all the way through is going to be 0.25. There we go, that looks pretty good. Maybe not in the exact correct spot, but for drawing purposes, we're okay doing it this way. So I can go ahead and recreate this on the other side, or I could also do just a quick copy. And I could just copy this over, and I could figure out what the actual measurement is, but I'm just going to select, I'm just going to set it on this corner here, or this edge, and then I'm just going to do a quick move and move it over the 0.75. Reason I'm doing this is just showing you another way to put in these holes, so I don't have to do the snap from this bottom point here. So now we're going to go ahead and do these top 2 holes. And again, it looks like the larger hole here goes down a depth of 0.25, and it's a diameter of 1. And it looks like the inner hole here goes all the way through, and it's a diameter of 0.625. So let's go ahead and grab our hole. We'll do a snap from, and we're going to have to do, again, a little bit of guesswork of where that is, since my dimensions are missing, and I apologize for that. So we'll do an @ symbol. Let's go over this one. We'll try 1 and down 1. That looks to be pretty close, and our diameter is 1. And again, we'll go ahead and put in our 0.625 of the hole that goes all the way through. And I am just again going to make a quick copy of this, so I don't have to do all my snap from. And I'm going to place it on here, and then I'm just going to do a quick move. And just some other ways to create, move your parts. I'll move it over that 1. All right, so at this point, we now created these holes. So we created something in this view that we have to show down in this view here. So I'm going to go ahead and change back to my construction lines. And I'm going to select the quadrants here, and I'm just going to drop these down. And I'm going to go outside my part. You don't have to leave your lines inside. Again, it just helps show me what I'm seeing. So each quadrant is going to come down straight. So when you look at a hole from the side view, it looks like a rectangle. Okay, let's just zoom in there. There we go. Drag this one straight down. And same thing up here. We're going to drag all these lines down. So let's just take a couple minutes and do that. And again, the reason we're doing this is if it's in one view, it has to be shown in another view. So we're going to be showing in this front view how these holes are going through our part. And we got 2 more circles here to deal with, or holes actually. All right, so looking at this, so these holes I know are there, but I can't see them when I'm looking at the front view. So immediately we know we need to go to a hidden line. So I'm going to grab my line here, and then I'm going to read some of this information. So this larger hole here goes a depth of 0.25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, there's my larger hole. I'm going to drag it straight down, 0.25. And then I'm going to drag it all the way over to the other side and back up. Just like that. And then my small hole goes from my big hole all the way through. Notice it doesn't go in the hole here because if you have a larger hole, you can't see a smaller hole in it because it's already been drilled out. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing here. This one said also it goes down 0.25. So we're going to go to the other side of my cylinder here. And then we're going to go straight down all the way through. And we're going to do that for each one of these. And the reason I do get some questions sometimes is why is there a line, a horizontal line here going from one side to the other? Well, if you got to think about that. If you cut this in half, this hole in half, what would you actually see? You would see this edge line right here of that smaller hole. So that's why we put that horizontal line in there. And then our smaller hole goes all the way through. And hole goes all the way through. And we'll do the same thing on this last one. Goes down 0.25. And that's just from that information about the counter bore there. And then the smaller hole goes all the way through. So at this point, we're pretty much done with showing these holes in this view. Except we want to add a center line, and a center line shows the center of something that's being drilled, the hole that's being drilled through. So we're going to change to our center line, and we can do a couple different things. You could put a construction line from your center of your hole down, just like this, and then copy over the top by coming back here and going to your center line. And then center lines actually start outside of your part and extend through your part here. So let's make sure we adjust that line so it's out just a little bit on either side. So you could do it this way, or you could also, I like coming in here, selecting a line, putting my cursor on the center point, and see how I have the guideline there, that object snap line. So that way I can create the length of the line that I want. And I do want to try to keep it consistent with the one I've already created. So it looks to me like I might be up a little bit too high. So I'm going to use my grips to adjust it just a little bit. So it's the same. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Use that guideline. And I also want it to be the same height. It's just cleaner. So all I have to do is touch that, bring it over to get a nice straight line. And then last but certainly not least is the one on the other side. When my center point, drag straight down. I want to be at the same height. And same height here. So when I would be putting in my center lines, to be perfectly honest, I go ahead and turn my construction layer off so that it's not in my way. So for now, I'm going to shut it off. And now you want to look at, see how these lines look like they're solid lines. I'm going to have to adjust the scale of my line type. So I'm going to go to my format menu and go to line type. And here's all the different line types I have. I can do an individual line or I can do a global scale factor. So I'm going to do a half scale. Okay, and select OK. And notice when I do that, I have a little bit cleaner and I can see those the space between the dashes. So that's a good one to have. Now, the next thing I need to do is add a center mark for each one of these circles. And this is where we have to go into our annotation drop-down menu, and we're going to set our dimension style. And we're not going to do much right now. We're just going to hit modify. Because I'll leave the next video when we do dimensions, how to make adjustments to your dimension style manager. And my symbols and arrows. And I want to make sure that center marks have lines. So see how the lines extend. And then I'm going to go ahead and select OK and close. So if I was not going to be putting any dimensions on here, I would want to come up and add a center mark for each one of my circles. Okay, go to dimension, center mark. But in our next video, I will be erasing these because when you put in your dimensions for your holes, your circles, it'll actually draw those dimension lines for you. But to just show a complete drawing at this point, I'm adding them. Now, if you look at these two views, we really don't need a right side view because it's not going to show us any additional information that the top view and front view don't. But if you were going to add a front view, or excuse me, a side view, you would go ahead and add, oops, let's turn that construction line back on. You would want to use your construction lines to help you do this. So I would just create a line straight from my bottom of my top view. And then I would create a line about the same distance. And you could actually measure this distance from here to here. It doesn't matter exactly because we're just going to line it up as close as we can. So this line that I just put in here, vertical line, is going to represent this edge of our side view. So everything that I have in this top view, I can show in this view. So if I have my corner, I'm just going to drag my corner over, right? And I'm not going to do this for all of them for time purposes, but for my quadrant, I'm going to bring my quadrant over. So again, see how we only have this quadrant's right in line with this one, so we wouldn't have to put all of them in. And I would just drag these straight over. Do two more, and then we'll. So this would be from every quadrant that you have in this view. So we would also have to do this with the small view or small circles and drag it over. So when I put a miter line or a 45-degree line from where these two lines intersect, and we're just going to come down here and make sure our 45 is selected. There we go. I'm going to have this nice 45-degree line. So where those two construction lines intersect is where our side view will start. So here's our first intersection. Let's line it up with that one. Actually, doesn't matter. So that right here, this line here, is this edge over here of my part. So then I can use my construction line from my front view to help me get the height of my part. Okay, so my height of my part is going to be the same. So again, I wouldn't have any part drawn up here because the height of the part's only up to here. So again, every corner in your part, in your view, is a feature in another view. So I could come in here and then create my visible lines. And I would see each one of these because I can see these corners and I'm not going through my part. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw those in. So you can see how it's very beneficial to use these construction lines to help you draw your part, because I don't even really have to put any dimensions in yet, because I'm just using these other views. So I'm gonna go back to my construction line, and now let's do the same thing with the hole. So I have my larger hole, there's it. I'm gonna just drag it outside here where it intersects that miter line. There's the outside of my hole. Same thing here. Bring it straight down. And again, these construction lines are going to be shut off, so we don't need to erase them or trim them or anything. So again, from this view, there's a corner and it's going through my part. The difference with this corner is I know this is going to be a hidden line because I can't see it. It's going through the part right here. Same thing with this. This is going through the part. So I know everything that's going to be when it touches an object and goes through my feature here, I know that it's going to be a hidden line. This corner here, it's the edge. It's not, it's going to be a solid line because it's not going through the part. So I'm going to go ahead and change to my hidden line. And again, I don't have to do any like dimensions, add any dimensions in, because I'm just copying over the top of these holes, or excuse me, these lines to make my hole. Yeah. Same thing if I wanted to use my construction lines to help put my center part in as well. My center line. I can drop that feature down, and that's a good, easy way to get that centered between those two items. And again, I'm going to line it up with the ones I already have to keep everything nice and clean when we draw. Okay. Excuse me. And then we could go ahead and do the second one as well. So the smaller hole here, and where it hits, I'm just going to drop it down. Bigger one first. It hits, drop it down. And then 2 more times. We're going to do the smaller hole where it hits the miter line, drop it down. Whoops, went too far. Let's hit empty. Where it hits the miter line. There we go. Drop it down. And one more time. Where it hits the miter line, drop it down. And then I'm going to use my front view to get the location. There's my corner. And bring it over. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Grab my hidden line. And again, I know this is a hidden line because it's going through my part here. So go down, over, and up. And then the same thing, right click, let's repeat our line. Straight down. Repeat our line. We're just doing a right click to get that quick menu. And then if I want to use my top view to help me get my center line in, it's a good idea. And bring it over where it hits the miter line. So there we go. Zoom in and out, makes it a little bit easier there. And then let's go ahead and get our center line in, change back over to center. And again, I want to line it up with the ones that are already here. Mouse is kind of jumping around a little bit. Let me zoom in, might help. There we go. And then touch the bottom line, get it all nice and lined up. Actually, I could do it off of this one too. Now let's zoom out, and we'll take these construction lines and turn them off. So there would be our completed view of our part. All right, that ends how to create the multi-view drawing of the double cylinder.